Hello everyone and welcome back to Astrophysicist Plays. Today I'm going to be playing The Outer Wilds. This is actually the game I most wanted to play when I started this channel, but I decided to do Portal first as a bit of a test recording to iron out all the kinks. Now that I think I have things working, let's get to what I wanted to show you in the first place. So, The Outer Wilds is basically Astrophysics the game. It is going to have a ton of interesting stuff to see and talk about here. I have played this game before, but I'll try to avoid spoiling anything as I go through as much as possible. Yeah, we start here with a nice view of the night sky with something interesting happening, which we'll figure out exactly what went on there later, and as well as what that planet is. But yeah, this is just a great way to set the tone of the game. Looking out at space with something to pique your curiosity. And then back to where we are with a little alien person here. There's our pilot, back from your pre-launch camp out under the stars, I see. You can look at me when you talk to me, Slate. So it's launch day, eh? Seems like only yesterday you joined the space program, and suddenly here you are, leaving on your first solo voyage. Well, Slate, we'll see if we actually get off the planet today. I've got a few things I want to do around here first. What do you say? Ready to get this beauty off the ground? It's all fueled up and ready to go. You're sure you fixed the retro rockets? That was only a problem one time, and then maybe a few times after that. But hey, no reason to dwell on the past, right? Yeah, I'm worried about them failing in the future, Slate. Anyway, you'll need to get the launch codes from Hornfels at the observatory before you can lift off. Just bring those here once you've said your goodbyes or whatever. Yeah, written my last will and testament, all that stuff. Okay. You have anything else to say? Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I know that's at the observatory. How's the ship look? Great. Hey, you might get a kick out of this. I've repurposed the spare oxygen tank to be used as an extra combustion chamber. So, less oxygen? Probably safe. Okay. How safe would you say this thing is? Well, it's a perfect 10. Unless you're factoring pilot error, in which case it's about a 4. Your faith in me is flattering, Slate. What's my mission once I'm in space? Hey, you're the pilot, you tell me. Aren't you pilot types all eager to get up there and explore for yourselves? Doesn't matter if you go to the moon, or Brito Hollow, or just the other side of Timber Earth. It's all the same to me. Get out there and have fun. Just don't hurt the ship. That's all I ask. What else should I do before liftoff? If you have any goodbyes to say, better say them now. Yeah, it'll be a bit hard to say them after I'm dead. I think your friend Hal is in the observatory waiting to see you off. Oh, and Gosson says they have the zero-G chamber set up if you want a refresher on making ship repairs in space. Not saying you have to, but it'll help get Gosson off my back if you did. Okay. So you can see how the game kind of sets you up here. It tells you a bunch of things you can do, but the only thing you really have to do is get the launch codes from the observatory. Right now I'm gonna roast a marshmallow. Ooh. Ooh, full marshmallow roasting minigame. Perfect. Okay, let's see if we can just try not to burn it. Ah! Let's try that again. Ah, that looks good. Okay. Yeah, it won't let me doze off. But maybe in the future it'll let me. Okay. Jump. Jump going in probably exactly the wrong way, and there we go. Okay. Okay. Stay now. Looking directly into the sun. not advised to do this in real life. Hey, it's you. Slate says you're blasting off in your ship today. I'm really excited to see the launch. Aren't you gonna go into space? Aren't you? You better not have changed your mind. Ooh, I hear you and Slate beefed up the model ship. Can I see it? Yeah, we recalibrated the controls and installed better thrusters. Want to give it a test drive? Slate says it's just like the real thing, only less likely to start a fire. So the real thing is more likely to start a fire. Good to know. Try to land on one of the geyser pools. Show me what you've got. Okay, time to play around with the model ship. So they put this in here to give you an idea of how to control the actual ship once you are able to control it a bit later on, and you can play around with this in safety without any risk of dying in a fiery inferno. Well, less risk of dying in a fiery inferno. Okay. Horizontal thrust. Left stick, down, up with L2, R2. So, first we want to go up. Okay. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay, so for the first thing, I don't know why I'm going forward. Okay. Reset. Okay. So let's just talk about ship controls for a second here. First thing to consider is that there's gravity, which means if you do nothing, you fall down. So in order to stay in the place, you have to provide constant thrust upwards. For those of you who remember high school physics classes, you might remember doing something called a free body diagram, which is basically you take an object that forces are acting on, like the ship here, and then you draw lines pointing in the direction of each force acting on it. So we're under the influence of gravity here, so we're going to draw one line down. So if nothing else acts on it, it'll fall down. If we want it to go up, we have to thrust up. If we want it to go forward, we have to thrust up and forward. Now the complicated thing here is when this starts tumbling, as then the directions it points don't line up with where we think it should go from our perspective. Now if we were in the ship, we could trust they actually did line up, but here they can't. So, yeah, okay, so it wasn't listed there, but it looks like the right stick actually handles tilting it in various directions. So if I hold it here, I can tilt left, and I can tilt right. Bit hard to see. So once you get a bit more into physics, you start looking not only at the absolute motion of something, but the rotation of it. So let's say we have something here that we want to remain still, but we want to tilt it clockwise from our perspective. So how we would do that is we have to apply a force to it that's a bit off-center. So, for instance, if we apply a force on the left side pushing up, that'll lift up the left side relative to the right side, and it'll tumble over. You can't see the thrusters coming out here on this, but when we get to the real ship, you might be able to do that. And then you could also apply a force down on the right side, left on the bottom, or right on the top. Any of those will cause the same rotation, though they'll also each cause a bit different absolute motion, or linear motion. So right now, let's just practice a bit to land in the geyser. Now the major difficulty here is that... Ooh, I did it. Cool. Perspective makes it difficult to tell when we're exactly over the geyser. We don't have a good sense of distance here, and since it's a game on a screen, we don't have depth perception. What a lot of games, particularly platformers, do to help this out is that they'll add an extra fake shadow right below the ship, always directly below from it. That's what they call a drop shadow. This shows what the point on the ground is below it, and using this, you can use it as an extra clue to figure out how far away it is. They don't do this in this game, as it's not really a platformer, and most of the controls are in first person. Yeah, here, when the sun is directly overhead, the regular shadow is where a drop shadow would be, so we can use it, but as the sun moves to the side, the shadow hits at a different angle. Let's see here. Can I lift us off? Yes, I'm at an angle, but yeah, okay. So let's just test a bit more if we can land on one of these. One of the reasons this game is in here is to emphasize to you that when controlling a spaceship, you need a very delicate touch. The reason for this is that out in space, there's nothing to really slow you down. You know, in our average experience on Earth, we have air all around providing air resistance, though you don't really experience that even when we're on a planet here. And especially when you're in the air, you're not going to feel any friction. So even if you apply a slight touch to get things going, it's going to accelerate and then it's going to keep going. So for instance, what if I just give a slight nudge forward and then no more forward nudges? You'll notice that the ship just keeps going forward. Okay, it looks like they did simulate a bit of air resistance, as it does eventually slow down. Now if I give it a bit more nudge, we keep going. So the tricky thing here is that what we actually have control over is the acceleration, and what we want to modify is the position. And the acceleration changes the velocity over time, and the velocity changes the position over time. So we're 2 steps removed from what we actually want to modify. You can think about this a bit like driving in a car, although the car is under enough other forces that it almost feels like you're controlling the speed when you press the gas pedal, but really you're more directly controlling the acceleration, and that happens to balance out with other forces when the car hits a certain speed. So if we want to get to a certain position and stop there, yeah, if we just accelerate to it, we'll overshoot the mark because we're just controlling the velocity. So what we have to do to stop is we then have to accelerate in the opposite direction to cancel it out. So going to a position is essentially a 2-step process at a minimum. There's accelerate to go there and decelerate so that once you get there, you're at 0 velocity. You know, in practice, you might accelerate at the stop, coast, decelerate at the end. Or if you're not very good at it, you might accelerate, overshoot the mark and fall, or decelerate, overshoot again, accelerate forward again. If you start decelerating as soon as you hit the point, you'll always overshoot, and you'll never actually stop there. So it's very important that you have to slow down before you get there. It's like thinking in your car again, you don't hit the brake as soon as you get to the point where you want to stop. You hit it before there, so you slow down and you're at a stop once you reach it. Okay, I think that's enough playing around with the model ship. Let's see what else there is we can do around here. Hello, hello, Porphy. Hey, yo, hatchling. I hear you're leaving us to seek adventure amongst the stars. When you return, let's you, me, and Gossin open up a bottle of the good stuff. The good stuff is less delicious sap wine and more daunting digestive challenge. I'm only seeking adventure amongst one star, actually. Other stars are too far away. Yeah, I think so. Another metaphor ruined in the name of scientific accuracy. Science. Ruining metaphors since... I don't know, when was the first metaphor? Yeah, good question. Nevertheless, I do hope you enjoy your travels. Good luck. Yeah, okay. Let's see, this is probably Porphy's house. Okay. Wait a second, why aren't we allowed to go in and loot everything you own? We're the protagonist, Porphy. You know the rules. I'm gonna have to report you. Hi, Roothild. You're actually blasting off in that thing, huh? I'm told my odds of survival are statistically quite high. Yeah, the space program has certainly come a long way. I should probably thank you for causing fewer flash fires than your predecessors. Fewer. Not zero, but fewer. By the way, good luck with those retro rockets. I'm worried about the retro rockets. Ooh. Satellite camera. Okay, so this changes the slideshow. Okay. Ooh. Okay, so I start, goes this one. This projector is linked to our Sky Shutter satellite, which is currently orbiting Timber Heart. The satellite is equipped with 2 onboard cameras. See if you can take a snapshot of our village. Okay, so we press R1 to take a snapshot looking forward, L1 to take a snapshot looking backwards. So, okay, we can just take repeated snapshots as we go around, or L1 to see where we're coming from. That's the sun in the background. Ooh. So this gives you kind of an overview of the planet here. This is a very low-flying satellite. Well, everything in this game is kind of scaled down so that it's actually manageable in the context of developing and exploring a game. If it were a real solar system, it wouldn't make for a very fun game. You know, in our solar system, it takes over an hour just for light to get from Earth to Mars, and would take a year-ish, depending on the launch parameter, to get there. So, taking a year just to get to another planet, not the most fun game. So I think, yeah, scaling it down is a necessary compromise with scientific accuracy. Interestingly, the designers had to make a few other compromises because of that. Like, one has to do with the way the strength of gravity works. In order so that you can kind of experience the change in gravity better, but also it works well for playing, they had to change how gravity scales with distance. So in our world, gravity scales with the square of distance. So let me just explain what that means. Let's use these barrels as a coordinate system here. So this one's 0, this one's 1, this one is 2. Let's say our central object is at the top barrel, has a large amount of mass, and then let's say here the gravitational force is 1. So in our reality, when we double the distance away, that means we divide the force of gravity by the square of the doubling factor. So if we're twice as far away, we'll get a quarter of the gravity. Now, in the Outer Wilds, they just divide it by the first power of the gravity. So here, this would still be 1 relatively. We're assuming that point is constant, but here it would be 1/2. And then it goes in the other direction, too. If we go to half the distance away, in our reality, since we're dividing by 1/2 squared, so 1/2 squared is 1/4, then when we divide by it, we flip it and get 4. So here, in our reality, the force would be 4 times as much, but in the Outer Wilds, it it's only the first power, so it's only 2 times as much. So overall, you see kind of a shallower drop-off in gravity. This means that when you have this smaller scale of planets, the gravity doesn't change as dramatically when you climb up onto the hills over there, which are a more appreciable fraction of the size of the planet than hills in our reality are. Yeah, in our reality, even the biggest hills are barely more than a rounding error compared to the size of the planet. You can think of it that Earth is smoother than the average pool ball or billiard ball, if that's what you prefer to call it. Just relatively speaking, the hills are barely anything compared to the size of the planet. Here in this game, they are very significant. So I think making gravity work a bit shallower is another good compromise so that we don't noticeably have lower gravity at the top of a hill. Now, in reality, you do get lower gravity at the top of the hill. It's just not usually noticeable unless you're making precision clocks. There have been some times that precision clocks have been thrown off, at least ones that run under gravity, when they're used at a point which has a different gravity than where they were manufactured. Okay, so talking to you. So it's launch day, huh? Hal's going to miss you. Speaking of launch day, I was thinking about it, and the platform those ships launch from is getting old. Isn't it about time you built a new, less flammable one? This is probably how I caused the flash fire. That big tree in the village would be the perfect choice. Yes, I think trees are also flammable, or maybe it's just going to be less flammable. Nice try. We all know you have it out for that tree. What? No, I just think it's in the way and someone ought to chop it down, you know. Specifically me. Yeah. You think this has to do with that time I fell out of it and broke my arm? That was when we were hatchlings. Who would hold a grudge for that long? Yeah, so obviously I'm also one of these aliens, even though you can't really see yourself in first person. And you get a lot of interesting details about their biology from the talking to other people here. So hatchlings, so that implies that we hatched rather than were born. So we wouldn't be strictly mammalian. And you can also see that we have 4 eyes and interesting kind of bat-like ears. Hello, nice. Hello there, Space Cadet. I hear you're leaving the crater today. If you meet any of the other travelers up there, remind them to take proper care of their instruments, won't you? Tell me about the travelers' instruments. Oh, sure. I made all of their instruments, you know. Let me see. There's Turt's drums, Rebek's banjo, and Gabbro's flute. And Feldspar's harmonica, of course, though Feldspar's been missing for a long time. Sometimes it feels like just yesterday they were playing with their harmonica around the campfire. So, just another note about the aliens here. You'll notice that every one of the aliens is referred to with they, them pronouns. The implication is that this isn't a species with binary or bimodal gender or sex, and everyone is what we would call non-binary, but for them, they probably don't even have a concept of gender and sex. Anyway, you hear music in space. That'll be one of the space program's other travelers. If you feel like company, you can always pull out your signal scope and track them down. Yeah, okay, do I have a signal scope? Oh, I do. Okay, so what button was that? Okay, triangle. Alright, so I'm already on that frequency, and yes. Okay, yeah, so right there. That seems like one. Yeah, so I can zoom in and even say roughly where on the planet that's coming from. Cool. Okay, put that away. Alright, I'm just playing around with the buttons here, seeing if I have anything else on me right now, but it looks like just the signal scope for now. Alright, did I miss anything interesting around? This way to the observatory. I'll go there last to make sure we don't miss anything on the way. Dr. Ted. Hello, astronaut. If it isn't my fabled troublemaker, what's with the radio? Oh, yes, the radio. Can I play with it for half an hour instead of playing this game? Well, we wanted to play hide and seek, but Moraine wouldn't let us borrow their signal scope because it's really delicate and not supposed to be thrown around like that. But I can throw around the radio like that, right? Okay, can we use your signal scope? Can we please? We'll even let you be it. Oh, yeah, sure, let's play. Woohoo! Okay, here are the rules. Galena and me will hide with these radios, and you'll use your signal scope to find us. Okay, signal scope tutorial. Cool. Last one to be found wins. Okay, close your eyes and start counting. Alright. Close your eyes, everyone. Open your eyes. Okay. Everyone is hidden. Equip signal scope. Oh, it's got its own frequency. We can go back to Royal Adventures, the D-pad toggle. So, hide and seek. So, okay, so we're trying to find. So, it looks like the two different brackets are the two different signals here. So, one of them is this way. Looks like I have to get up there. Let's look around a bit, see if we can find a way up. Yeah, so we can go around here. Okay. Here we go. No, it's still a fair ways away. Can I jump? Maybe, but okay. Yeah, so the jumping is automatic. You don't jump until you release the button, so it's a bit non-standard platform controls. Alright, let's try that again. There we go, made that jump. Okay. Hello, Galena. Not very talkative, are you? Okay, you found me. Can I grab the... I want it. Oh, yeah. You look the right way while you're jumping. Oh, yeah, you can see your own body here. Okay. Cool. Okay. Other one. So, off this way. Looks like you're behind the waterfall. So they're also trying to teach you how to navigate and platform a bit since they're both off at a slightly inconvenient places. You got me, but I'm the last one. I will. Promise to play again when you get back from space, okay? You gotta notify Doc first. Alright. Fishing rhyme, singing helps me pass the time. You're leaving the crater? Guess we'll all be a little busier without you around to lend a hand. That big water planet, Giant's Deep, that's where I'd go. Why is that? One time, after the rest of the village had left to sleep and it was just the two of us sitting around the campfire, Gabbro told me about their first trip to Giant's Deep. They landed their ship easily enough in the waves, but couldn't see too far down on account of how murky the water was, I guess. Too dark. Gabbro wants to see what lay beneath the surface, so they decided to travel deeper. They traveled down and down, but suddenly Gabbro couldn't go any further. I underestimated how boring this would be. Goodbye. Yeah, Giant's Deep has a current you can't pass through. Sure, okay, but shut up a minute. This is the good part. As though exercising a will of its own, the water was refusing to let Gabbro go any deeper. It held Gabbro back, almost as if it were trying to protect them from something. And then, in the terrible darkness, Gabbro saw it. The tentacle of some hideous beast! Ah! I mean, that's what Gabbro said anyway. Whatever it was, it freaked Gabbro out pretty good. Everyone wants to hear new stories at the village campfire, you know? Make sure you bring some back with you. Cool. Ooh. Observatory and 0GK. Some little platform here. Let's see what's up there. I saw smoke coming from Young Bark Crater up north and figured I should go check it out. You can use the scout launcher, just please don't break it while I'm gone. No promises. East, Nomai Ruins. Okay, so maybe you can use the scout launcher to get a good look at it. So this way, so aim it left and right, we launch the scout, and R1 to take a snapshot, kind of like the satellite was working, so I'll just shooting star up there, cool. Probably not an actual star, but okay, so you can you can rotate the camera to look around now. Okay. Yeah, shooting star is definitely a misnomer. You never really see stars moving through the sky, at least on a human time scale. If you pay close enough attention, they will move slightly, but what we call shooting stars are typically meteors or occasionally comets. Yeah, alright, so what are we looking for in this direction? South Quantum Grove Crater. Okay. Alright. Okay, not really seeing much of interest right now. And what's over here? Yeah, something else going. Maybe that's... Oh, maybe that's that satellite we were using before to look at pictures of this planet. Northwest Geyser Mountains. Yep, those are mountains with geysers. And something up above, maybe another satellite or the same one. What's this way? Young Bark Crater. Wonder what that is. Well, it's a crater. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's all to see from here. Okay, so a little bit of a scout tutorial there. Hello. What are you up? Wasn't expecting that. Hey, astronaut. You know the patch of ghost matter inside this fence? Dawson said it used to be bigger when they were a hatchling. Because ghost matter evaporates. It just takes a super long time. I hope there's still ghost matter in the village when I'm a grown-up. Ghost matter is awesome. Ghost matter is super cool. It'll burn the heck of you, dude. You shouldn't be throwing rocks in there. Ghost matter is dangerous. You know, ghost matter is how Tektite lost their foot, right? Whoa, really? That is so cool. I hope you don't grow into a psychopath. Hello, Moraine. Oh, hello, astronaut. This is good weather for your launch, right? That's lucky. Ooh, any good sounds from space today? There are. My signal scope is set to Outer Wilds Ventures frequency, so I'm listening to the Traveler's music. Last night I heard Rebec's banjo coming from Brittle Hollow. I hope that means they're safe. Unless they're playing a distress banjo call. What was the song like? I can hear different planets too. It depends on what time of day or night it is, since different planets are in the sky at different times. Signal scopes are cool. Yeah, so. And then it just encourages us to pick it up and look around. Oop, someone's whistling. Okay, so ghost matter in here. So this is one of the parts where the game kind of flubs it a bit in the tutorializing. So if you're to look in here, you'll see these little crystals and think, okay, those crystals are ghost matter, which is the dangerous thing I want to avoid, and then avoid those crystals. But you'll see here, if I, just step over the crystals, nothing actually hurts me. The dangerous part is actually inside the fence and doesn't exactly align with where the crystals are. So, danger. Inside this fence is a pocket of ghost matter, a strange and dangerous substance that's invisible to the naked eye. Yeah, so the crystals themselves aren't the actual ghost matter. The ghost matter is invisible to us. But the crystals happen to be where there is a lot of ghost matter, and for, whatever process is creating them, maybe the ghost matter, after it evaporates, settles into a safe form in those crystals. Or maybe it's just another substance that it came along with the ghost matter, that whatever created it created those crystals too, and they just happened to be in around the same places because of that. But yeah, the crystals aren't ghost matter, they just indicate where ghost matter is likely to be. Okay. The good news is that you can detect ghost matter with a camera. Moving through ghost matter is uniquely painful and will probably kill you. Don't complain to me if you hurt yourself fooling around. Okay, so we can use the camera here, and yeah, so if we take a snapshot, you can see a kind of green glow. That's where the actual ghost matter is. And you can see, like, there's a big patch over at the left, which actually looks relatively safe, so I can probably... I shouldn't be... You lied to me, camera. That was not safe. Yeah. Yeah, that should have been safe. Okay. Maybe it's just not sensitive enough to pick up low concentrations. Yeah, but in any case, that's probably a good lesson to give ghost matter a pretty wide berth. Okay. Let's leave the observatory for last and check out the zero-G cave. Hey, come say hi to your old flight coach before your launch. I've got zero-G training set up if you want a refresher. Alright. Hello, Gosson. Hey, I thought I might see you before the big launch. Nerves getting the better of you? Right, like you weren't nervous for your first fight? Hey, don't worry about it. Your nerves are between you, me, and the vast endlessness of space. But really, you'll do fine out there. I'd worry more about that ship if I were you. Hopefully that lunatic Slate at least fixed the retro rockets. The retro rockets are gonna kill me, aren't they? So listen, there's a satellite, which is definitely not just a piece of broken mining equipment, set up down in the zero-G cave and in need of repairs. If you're looking for a little last-minute zero-G practice, no better time than the last minute, head down the lift and into the cave. Or don't, as long as you're confident you can make ship repairs in space. One repaired satellite coming up. Cool, get to it and try not to concuss yourself right before your first launch. I'll try, no promises. Down we go. So, want to guess how they made a zero-G cave? Ooh, okay, flashlight, there we go. Good old video game flashlights provide light in only one small circle and absolutely no light outside of it. Zero-G cave, zero-G cave. You could have just said it once. Okay, same controls as that model ship. And now we've got a bit more of an interface. So gravity 0.3x now. And yeah, we can actually thrust ourselves up if we want. And once we're in the air, do horizontal thrust with the left stick. Let's see. Lower gravity means we can jump a fair bit higher. Ooh. And going up here, gravity is 0.4x. That's actually interesting. Gravity is lower down here. Usually gravity increases the closer you get to the center of a planet. Okay, now. Okay, one thing here that I have to highlight as a very good touch. When I'm in the air, the gravity goes to 0, which is exactly what it should do. Because when you're in the air and in free fall, you actually can't tell what the surrounding gravity is doing. If you pretend the planet isn't there for a second, but the gravity still is, when you're accelerating from it, you can't really tell you're accelerating as you don't have any reference points to look at with the planet. And it looks like the way this gravity sensor works is it's figuring out the gravity from our shoes, or probably boots, and this spacesuit. And the way it's sensing that is it's picking up the force of the ground pushing up on us. So when we're high up, we see nothing. And when we hit the ground, it says 0.4x. Okay, so it's not quite right. If it were going purely off the force of the ground, we would expect that when we jump up, it would increase, and it would also increase for just a moment when we hit the ground, as when we're trying to change our own acceleration, we have to apply more force to the ground. So the apparent force we feel, or the apparent gravity for just those moments, would increase. So it's almost doing what a real force sensor would do, but not quite. Now, the other way it could try to estimate the force of gravity would be like a light sensor, looking at the surrounding acceleration, but even then, there's a lot of ways that wouldn't work if you think it through. A force sensor is really the only practical way. So I said you can't tell how fast you're going without a reference point, but we do have reference points. So let's just imagine a hypothetical sensor that was a camera surrounding us, and it looks at how much we're accelerating downwards. Well, right now we're not accelerating downwards at all, so from that information, what's the gravity? Well, is it 0? Well, no, obviously there's something pulling us down. And then now when we're in the air, we are accelerated down. At that point, you could figure out what the gravity is. But what if we were out in space and just happened to be looking at something and that other thing was accelerating? Then we would get a false reading from it. And imagine we were up on the surface here when full gravity. We would still be standing still, but instead of 0.4x gravity, it would actually be 1, but a camera wouldn't tell us that. So really the only practical way you could measure gravity is with a force sensor. That does come with the drawback that you can't tell what it is while you're jumping. And it's not completely simulated how it would go up for a second when you're jumping and when you hit the ground. Now, if you want to experiment for this a bit, here's something you can try at home. Go get a scale, a bathroom scale or something. Step onto it, and then just briefly drop down to your knees while looking at what the reading is. While you're dropping down, you should see that the weight it tells you, which is basically just using a force sensor, will dip while you're falling down, maybe even as far as going to 0 for a bit. And then once you're have bent knees, push yourself up, don't jump off, no need to do anything dangerous, just stand back up while still looking at it, and it'll go up even higher than your normal weight. And this is just like when I was jumping here, it should be going up right before I leave the ground. But in real life, you can test and see that that does happen, because the force sensors, don't tell us the actual weight of something. They tell us the force it causes, and that force is a combination of the weight due to gravity and any other forces being applied. So if you're pushing up, you're supplying an extra force, which is necessary in order to start accelerating into the air. And when you drop down, you're loosening the weight of gravity by pulling up your legs and kind of not quite countering that force, but at least countering it within your body so that you don't apply as much of it to whatever's below you. So the flip side to this is right when I crouch down, the gravity should dip for a second and then goes back up, and then as soon as I leave the ground, it drops to 0. But at least the parts while on the ground, you can easily experiment with yourself to confirm that it actually does what I say and not stay constant like in the game. Okay. Hello, Tough. Hey, nice of you to drop down. I dropped down plenty of times, weren't you watching? I'm getting some 0G time in. So you're going in there, in the cave. Ugh. What? No, I'm fine. Great. Great and fine. You don't look fine. Yeah. Just going to float upside down and whatnot. Just, ricochet off the wall, spin around a lot, that kind of thing. You're... Okay, well, we'll leave you alone. Okay, yeah, so it's very interesting here that gravity decreases as you get closer to the center. So think a bit about what that might be before I explain it to you. See if you can guess. Don't forget there are tests. And a big hole. Drop down. Yeah, okay. Falling. Yeah, gravity is down to 0.2x now. Mm, 0.1x even. Falling even more, falling to the center of the world. Okay. And I'm just going to keep falling for a bit. So yeah, if you think about what's going on here for a bit, you'll realize that the reason we're at 0 gravity is because we're actually at the center of the planet right now. And in the center of the planet, gravity from all sides balances out and gives you effectively no gravity, with everything canceling out on every side. So if you think about it at the center of the planet, it makes sense that gravity would be 0, and at the surface it would be full gravity. So if you just think it through intuitively, it has to go from 0 to full gravity as you go from the center of the planet up to the surface. So it probably goes relatively smoothly. It isn't obvious what functional form it'll take as you go, but it does make sense that it would go gradually from 0 to 1 up at the surface. Now, thinking through a bit physically, let me just try to get stable here. I want to test something. Okay, I'm just going to try to bring myself as close to a stop as possible. Okay, I'm just going to let myself float there, and while I'm... Yeah, okay, that's probably as good as it gets. Okay, I'm bringing myself to a stop close to the wall, because I just want to test something about how the game is handling gravity. And while I'm doing that, let's just talk about that. So the reason that gravity goes to 0 at the center is that it balances out on either side. Now let's imagine you weren't at quite the center of the planet, but you're just like a few meters off to the side. What's the gravity there? Well, from our intuition before, it should be somewhere between 0 and 1. We're pretty close to the center, so it'll probably be closer to 0 than 1. But let's think about it physically. Think about all the mass around you. Let's say the center is at point 0 and you're at point 1 in y, 0 in x, 0 in z. That means that since you're up a bit in y, that more of the planet is below you than is above you. Now, it's not a lot more. You can think that there's a lot of it that's going to balance out, but there is distinctly more on the bottom. So, like you can imagine, so we're pretending we're close to the center of the planet, we can imagine one sphere of rock going out from us at constant distance to either side until one edge of it hits the edge of the planet. And then that sphere of rock will all be perfectly balanced. It's the same distance out on every side. But it's not going to cover the entire planet. There's going to be kind of a skin around it almost. And more of that skin is going to be on the opposite side of the planet from you. And that whole skin is going to attract you. And since there's more on the opposite side, it'll attract you downwards. Now, the further away you get from the center, the smaller a sphere you can draw around yourself. Like, imagine instead of being 1 meter away from the center, you're 1 meter away from the surface. Then you can only draw a 1 meter sphere around you, and you're only canceling out a small bit. And there's still almost all of the planet, minus this radius 1 meter sphere, pulling you down. So as you go from close to this, or at the center, the entire planet cancels out. There's a sphere around it that's perfectly balanced. Then you get a bit away, there's a smaller sphere that's perfectly balanced, and then a skin that isn't, and that pulls you down. And then when you're almost at the surface, there's only a small sphere perfectly balanced, and a large skin pulling you down. Then once you're at the surface, the entire planet pulls you down, and you can't keep canceling out because there's no more planet above you. So once you go farther away from the planet, the math changes. You always have the entire planet pulling you down. It just gets farther and farther away. And as it gets farther away, you get less acceleration from it. Okay. So let me look around here and tell you why I was just trying to stay still and see what was happening. And I have to say that I am overall pretty pleased with what the game is doing here and how it's simulating it. I think they put in a bit of extra coding to manage this. Because what we've actually got going on here is that the planet is hollow. There's a cave at the center of it. And now, what happens if the planet is hollow in our little thought experiment from before? Like, let's just take it to extreme. Let's say all the mass of the planet is at the surface and has a huge hole in the middle. It's like a big beach ball. So, when you're at the center, the same logic from before applies, that everything balances out. But what if you're a bit offset from the center? Well, you can draw a sphere again, but it's going to be empty space in that sphere. So the same thought experiment doesn't really work. Let's think about it that we're kind of close to the surface, and think, like, break the surface of the planet up into pieces. There'll be one piece right above us, really close, and a lot of other pieces to the sides, somewhat close, and then some down below, far below. How's the gravity of that going to balance out? Now, it might seem instinctively like the piece that's close to you is going to win out, since gravity scales as the square of the inverse of the distance, so maybe that means the closest piece will win out. But it actually turns out that if you go through the math carefully, that it all balances out perfectly. So that is, if you have a beach ball-like planet with all the mass on the surface, anywhere within the planet will have zero gravity. What happens is that, yes, the piece up there is closer, but down below there are a lot more pieces of the planet pulling in roughly the same direction. So think of it this way. If you look up at the close piece and look at all that's within your views, let's say you can see in a 120-degree cone, and then you draw a circle. How much of the planet is that? Well, it's just going to be a few meter circle. So the amount of the planet pulling you up is a relatively small chunk, just a few meters around. Now, turn around and look down, and now you're also looking in a 120-degree cone, but now we're looking at a huge chunk of the planet, probably more than half of it in that direction. Yeah, it would be more than half of it. So although the mass there is farther away, there is tons more mass in that direction. And it actually turns out there's a simple scaling for this, since the amount you see in your view is in area, that the surface area scales as the square of the distance away. So you can just imagine, let's just use the wall here as an example. If we're 1 meter away from the wall, we'll see let's say we see this flashlight circle has a 1 meter radius. Then the area of it is pi r squared for a circle. So it would be pi meters squared. Now if we go back and we're 2 meters away, the radius of the circle goes up to 2 meters, and then area pi r squared is 4 meters. So when we're doing our gravity calculations, the mass we see in front of us when we're close, let's say that's the pi r squared, and then in the other side of the planet, let's just keep it simple and say it's 2, so that'll be 4 pi r squared, but it's twice as far away. So then we divide by square of distance to get the gravitational force. So the amount of mass is pi r squared times whatever the density is, and then distance is 1, so we divide by 1 squared and end up with pi squared again. Then we go to 2 meters away, then we get 4 pi as our mass, and we're now 2 away, we divide by 2 squared, so we divide by 4, and again we get pi as the distance. So imagining we're doing this on the inside of a planet, on one side we're being attracted by pi mass at a distance of 1, so divide it out, we get a force of pi upwards. We look downwards, and then we've got 4 pi mass at a distance of 2. We divide by 2 squared, and we divide out the 4, and we've got a force of pi downwards, and the forces cancel out. So the net result of this is that when you're inside a hollow planet like this, it's zero gravity everywhere. And that's kind of what I was testing, just letting myself float around to see if they actually did put in that fact that when you're in a hollow cave, it is zero gravity everywhere, or if they just said, it's close enough to zero, that's good enough. But No, it looks like it is indeed 0 everywhere, and we just have the drifting around. Okay, so that's enough playing. So let's go back to the game here. And, okay, so you can lock on. Ooh, hold X to match velocity. That is very useful. Okay, so what do we do to repair? Okay, gotta get closer, then we can do square. Alright, now, okay. Now we just need to find the other things. Well, now this gives you another chance to play around with three-dimensional controls, and as before, a delicate touch is the key, and also taking advantage of holding X to match velocity. So we lock on, hold X. Now it still rotates, we're not matching the rotational velocity, but that gets us good enough to do our repairs. Okay, one more piece of the puzzle. So where's the other one? Let's just look up. Eek, it bumped my head. My bad. Okay, it looks inside, like it's inside. Yeah, matching velocity is really the key to making the movement in this game easy for you. Otherwise, you have to do a lot of balancing acceleration and deceleration. There we go. Training done. Perfect. Aside from that one head bump, hopefully it will cause no brain damage. Damage. And out the hole. And the game nicely orients ourselves with the gravitational field here. Yeah, that's a nice convenience. You don't get that in real life, but it's certainly nice to have in the game. Okay. Bump my head again. I'm sure my brain will come out of this just fine. No. I'm really sorry, head. I'm also sorry, light. How are you doing, tough? Yeah, I also feel like that after all the brain damage. Yeah, this is the way out, yeah. Okay, I think we left behind the suit. There. Nicely done. Of course, it'll be a little more stressful when you're hurtling through space, but just remember your training and try not to hit anything big. Like hitting the entire planet with my head. I will definitely not do that. Again. Probably. No promises. I can see you're itching to get off this rock, so go get the launch codes from the observatory and get out if you're all ready. Can't wait to see me leave, can ya? Best of luck out there. And hey, try to avoid getting yourself killed now that I put so much time into training you. Got it. That would be a shame to waste your time like that. Okay. Observatory time. Let's see. Anything here? Anything interesting? Okay, so that goes back to the launch tower. So I kind of took the long way around getting here. Okay, so it looks like this observatory kind of doubles as a museum. Utterwild's founding members, clockwise from the top: Hornfels, Gossin, Slate, and Feldspar. Outer Wilds Adventures, Timber Earth's first and only space program, was founded to explore the farthest reaches of our solar system. Feldspar was the first Hearthian to be intentionally launched into space. Emphasis on it intentionally. They completed the first orbit around Timber Hearth and later made the first of what would be many landings on our moon, the Adelbrock. Now, it's kind of interesting that they named their moon. We just have the moon. We should name our moon. I'm going to vote for Erin. Nice gender-neutral name for a gender-neutral satellite. And by the way, yes, the moon is a satellite. We call it a natural satellite as opposed to the artificial ones we send out. But in astrophysics term, yes, a satellite does apply to natural things like Erin. Hey, it's my favorite astronaut. Lunch day at last, buddy? It's a translator tool's inaugural flight too. So excited it's making me nauseous. You're not the only one. Just think, you'll be able to translate any Nomai text you want, anywhere you are. The two of us put a lot of hours into inventing that tool, so don't break it, okay? Haha. Oh jeez, do not break it. No promises. Ignore me, okay? I'm just nervous. And not even the one going into space. How are you feeling? Nauseous isn't an option, so I'm going with terrified. Don't let me make you nervous. You've been training for this day since we were hatchlings, remember? Yeah, that was a brutal training. Right? Second I was out of the egg, they had me on a treadmill. You'll do great, I promise. So what's the dirt? You here to see the new Nomai statue? New statue? You haven't heard? Gabbro brought it back with them from Giant's Deep, and Hornfell's just finished prepping it for display. This is it right here. Neat, huh? It won't let me control the camera, so rather than looking at it like a normal person might, I'm just going to stare at you. To all four of your beady black eyes. Your sexy eyes. Sorry. Makes me wish we could see what a real live Nomad looks like, but I guess this is as close as we'll ever get. Check it out. Looks like they had fur. Fur is weird. This is the first fully intact statue ever found, you know. And for how old it is, it's in great shape. Can I look at it, please? Just shut up so I can look at it. Oh, jeez, I got a little carried away there. Go on, you have a ship to launch. Take care of yourself out there, you hear? Okay. Okay, so that's what the Nomai look like. Looks like, unlike us, they have only 3 eyes. Can you imagine not having a full set of 4 eyes? They must be practically blind. This remarkably intact statue was carved by the Nomai, an ancient species who dwelled in our solar system thousands of years ago. The statue provides us with our most detailed look yet at the Nomai, who appear to have been covered with a layer of fur. Note the decorative jewelry that has been carved as part of the antlers. Although there are artifacts and structures that have been found on almost every planet in this solar system, we still have no idea where this species came from or what happened to them. Decorative jewelry carved as part of the antlers. I'm not sure what that's referring to. Did they, like, carve their own antlers into jewelry? Huh. Not quite sure. Hey, there is a necklace there. No, that's not what they're referring to. Yeah, no more. Okay. What do we have? This piece of Nomai writing was essential to deciphering their unique language. Although this text is linear, Nomai text often branches off from a central point. Interestingly, each branch tends to be written by a different author. So they kind of have conversations through writing. So maybe they weren't that much of a vocal species and they talk with each other by writing things down, and one writes one thing down, then another writes something beside it, branching off to reply. Close. Cassava, we're nearly ready. Felix and I have finished construction, and she says calibrating the device won't take long. So the Nomai do have gendered pronouns. It's interesting that the Hearthians are able to translate the gendered pronouns even though they don't have them for themselves. Maybe they have experience with other animals on their planet that do have bimodal sexes, and so they invented those pronouns to describe those creatures. You know, here on Earth, we would often just use it for animals, treating them as inanimate, so if we're going down this theory rabbit hole, that implies they're actually very empathetic to animals, enough to treat them as being relevantly sentient and even think up two different pronouns for them. How important that weird bimodal sex must be. And no, I am not going to say binary sex. Sex, even for humans, is not a binary. It's bimodal at best. There are two large groupings and a lot of people outside that. And yes, I'm even talking specifically about sex, not even getting into gender identity. Sex-wise, there's a ton of variation that doesn't fit into the two large groups cleanly. Okay, anyway, so that's a side tangent. Let's go on to, well, I guess this is also a side tangent, but let's do this one. Okay, Felix. Fortunately, the Outer Rock's lack of atmosphere will make calibration simple. After all this time, I'm thrilled to finally resume our search. Okay. So, they say this was critical to translating them, to understanding. I would think it would be like something like a Rosetta Stone, which would have the same thing in multiple languages. That doesn't look like another language. Does it give any clues? Maybe they just looked at the same one for a long while. Or maybe they're just taking a bit of a break from reality to let you understand it. Aside from the dwellings and structures they built, the Nomai also made art. This decorated pottery was discovered on Brittle Hollow. Some ancient Nomai art depicts strange animals, foreign celestial objects, and other subjects that can't be found in our solar system, which makes us wonder whether the Nomai originated elsewhere in the universe or simply had vibrant imaginations. Were the Nomai born in our solar system, or were they born among other stars and planets? And if they were, how and why did they come here? These are just some of the questions we hope to answer through further xenoarchaeological expeditions. So they say this is art, but maybe that's art on this side. But you know, one thing that happens a lot in real life in analyzing ancient cultures is that you don't really know what something is being used for. You might find a strange object you don't know the purpose of and say, oh, it was art. And in reality, it's a toilet. Though I guess that happens in modern day as well. Sometimes a toilet seat becomes art, so... I think just saying it's art should count as cheating whenever you're trying to figure out the purpose of anything, because you can always say it's art. Come up with something better. What you see here are parts of the Nomai skeleton. Oh, somebody's corpse in here. We can tell from their skulls that they possessed antlers, and, quite unusually, only 3 eyes. Oh, how did they get by? The Nomai body was most likely adapted for living exclusively on land. The differences in the Nomai's anatomy, such as their shockingly fragile bone structure, shows that Harthians couldn't have descended from Nomaian ancestors. Okay, so they say the Nomai were adapted for living exclusively on land, so that means that that's unusual by their perspective. So all of us seem to be living on land, but it must not be exclusive, so the Parthians are probably an amphibian species then, even if we don't see much. So maybe it's just the hatchlings that are born in water. And then we must also have a sturdier bone structure than the Nomai. So I wonder, could the Nomais be some sort of flighted species, maybe, or at least descended from a flighted species, which would force them to have lighter bones. Since if you have less mass, you need less force to get in the air. It's not clear where the Nomai originated from or why they disappeared. We hope to find more clues to this puzzle as we explore our solar system. Okay, that looks like the ship. The Nomai technology brought back from space by our astronauts has been a great boon to our adventures. Okay, yeah, so they were able to make a big leap forward in their spacefaring technology by looking at what the Nomai did. So allowing us to modify expedition gear in exciting and useful ways. For example, the little scout now boasts a warp retrieval capability that allows astronauts to recall their scouts almost instantly. And we also kind of saw that with the model ship. We can teleport it back, so that's probably some of the Nomai technology too. This has dramatically reduced the number of scout slots to the depths of space, yeah, I imagine. This crystal was taken from a Nomai ruin on Brittle Hollow. It seems to create a local gravity distortion and was most likely used to traverse steep surfaces. Try it out. Okay. Good. Okay, now we're standing on the walls. So, game mechanics-wise, these crystals are artificial gravity and override any natural gravity. How do I get off? Do I have to... I'm stuck. Okay. Sorry, head. Okay, so let's talk from a physics perspective about how artificial gravity might work. It wouldn't. At least not like this. Physically, the only practical way you can have artificial gravity is through using acceleration, which means you have to either keep accelerating in the same direction, which causes a constant expenditure of energy, or more practically, you have something rotating at a fixed amount, and then when it's rotating, it's effectively accelerating towards the center at all of the time. It's also traveling sideways to it, so the acceleration turns it, but as it turns, it just goes around the circle. So something rotating around in a circle will have constant acceleration towards the center, and acceleration is basically the same thing as gravity by just the principles of general relativity, elementary school stuff. So acceleration can mimic gravity, so the only practical way to have artificial gravity is through something rotating. So you might have seen this in 2001: A Space Odyssey, where they have rotating space stations, or I haven't played it myself, but I'm told in Halo that there are like ring planets that use artificial gravity, or maybe ring space stations. Again, I haven't played it, and that would successfully work to have some sort of artificial gravity that feels like it's pulling you down. Now, in the subtleties, it won't work exactly like gravity, but on a big enough scale, it will be indistinguishable. A localized distortion like this, well, yeah, you could just put another big mass there to cause gravity, but it wouldn't be quite as localized. And even then, it wouldn't be artificial gravity, that would just be gravity. Yeah, and we would be attracted to the crystal rather than to the surface it's on. Yeah, so scientifically, this is very far off from anything that could actually work. Yeah, and yeah, I'm just trying to think, can you... No. Yeah, if you have artificial gravity, you have to have something forcing it into place to force the gravitational potential to work the way you want, and yeah, you would need a very difficult to make structure to hold it. Yeah, this is getting way out of hand, and just one of my thoughts, you have to get into quantum gravity to figure out what types of materials you need to open and keep open an artificial gravity field, and yeah, let's not get down that rabbit hole. Okay, what do we have over here? Oh, yeah, same thing. Okay. Oh, is this... No, this isn't Timber Hearth. This looks like another planet with some big structure there. And over here, And that might be Timber Hearth. There's a different part of it. Maybe those are the Nomai ruins we saw with that scout. Okay. If a star is massive enough... Oh, sorry, I think we're going the wrong direction. Let's start over here. Yeah. Stars like our sun generate light and heat by fusing hydrogen into helium. As it grows older, the star runs out of hydrogen and starts to contract. And you see it here not contracting. This is presumably after it starts to contract, we see this. As a star's core contracts, it gets hotter, causing the outer layers to expand. The star has become a red giant. When the core is hot enough, it starts to fuse helium into carbon. Well, carbon. Yeah, I'm just going back to my periodic table. Do that. Now, wouldn't it be beryllium? Yeah, I guess, well, yeah, indirectly into carbon, but two helium, like, so two hydrogen go into one helium, but two helium would be beryllium. Yeah, and carbon's going to be a couple more steps. But yeah, it will eventually get to carbon. If the star is massive enough, it will continue to fuse carbon into even heavier elements like iron. Ultimately, the star will collapse under its own gravity and then explode in a violent event called a supernova. Based on Chert's observations, this will one day be the fate of our own sun. Okay, so just... this is, yeah, largely true. Let me just fill in a few more details. So, time-wise, the first phase, fusing hydrogen into helium, is by far the longest part of the life cycle of a star. It'd be like 90% of its life cycle. Then the red giant phase will be much shorter, but still significant. You'll see a bunch of them sticking around while it fuses helium into some of the other lighter elements. Okay, maybe the first row or a couple rows of the periodic table. And then over here, when it goes supernova, which not every star does, it has to be massive enough to trigger that, is when it starts fusing carbon into many more things like iron. Iron is particularly common because it's particularly stable. You kind of get the most energy out of fusing elements when you fuse it into iron. Iron is like you can think of it as the lowest energy state you can get an atom into. So if you want to take as much energy as possible out of atoms, you fuse them all into iron, so they have the least left behind and you've got the most out of them. And this is why we end up with a lot of iron in planets when planets eventually form. But in order to have those rocky elements, you need to fuse stuff up into, some moderately heavy elements, or, well, yeah, I say moderately heavy, but carbon's still pretty light. But then it's only in these supernova events that elements beyond the first couple of rows of the periodic table are formed. Now, most stars don't go supernova, but the ones that do are responsible for basically all of the heavier elements that we actually see, in which eventually will clump together and form planets like Earth. So even though these are rare events, they are absolutely key to the eventual development of planets we can live on. Okay, so what do we have here? Watch closely. These balls move on their own. The ground is perfectly level, so what do you think causes this spooky motion? The answer is the moon. As it orbits our planet, the yellow rock's gravity pulls on objects from different directions. In fact, it's pulling on you right now. So this is another advantage of the smaller scale simulation, that you can see effects from the gravity of other objects much more plainly than you can in reality. Like, in reality, we, on a human scale, we don't notice the gravity of the moon at all. We only notice it on very large planetary scales, like the force of it on the combined waters of Earth moves the waters around enough that we see the sloshing around of waters moving up and down beaches as tides. So we can see it from those huge scale things, but if you were to try to set something like this up and measure it, you wouldn't see anything on Earth. The friction would just overwhelm any gravity from the moon. But here, the moon is relatively close enough that you can see the motion of it. Yeah, okay, so what's out here? Hello. Goodbye. The strange walk moving around in this grotto appears to react to conscious observation. The level-headed among us realize that there must be some sort of optical illusion at play, but Gabbro claims the rock exists in all possible states until it is observed, whatever that means. Whatever is actually happening, both sides of the debate agree the effect is extremely creepy. So, okay, the rock's over there. If we look away, it's gone. And, okay, it seems to be fixed in one place, so it's over there now. Look away. Gone. So, in-game, they call this quantum behavior, but this is most certainly not how quantum mechanics works in real life. For one, it's far too large scale. For another, quantum behavior doesn't react specifically to conscious observation. It reacts to any observation. It can be, anything else that interacts with it can hold it in place. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that's just as soon as it leaves the viewport, it disappears. Now, this is another thing you'll notice about this game and the quantum objects in it. So, if we were to think about it like in reality, there should be like a 1/3 chance of it going to any of these stumps whenever we look away. But let's see, which should mean a 1/3 chance that it stays. But let's just do an experiment. See, does it ever stay in the same place, or does it always move when we look away? So looking away, that's move, so that's one trial no. So there, look away, 2 trials no. There, look away, 3 trials no. There, look away, 4 trials no. There, look away, 5 trials no. There, look away. Ooh, maybe that one works. Let's put a tentative yes. Or maybe I'm just not looking away enough. Yeah. Yeah. Goes away. Yeah. Okay. So it seems, yeah, whenever I very definitely look away, it does move. Whereas, another difference with real-life quantum is that, sometimes it would stay in the same location, but here, whenever it's unobserved, it takes advantage of it to move away as soon as it can. I think they did this in the game to emphasize the spookiness of it, but definitely that wouldn't be how it works in reality. Yeah, these seem more like weeping angels from Doctor Who than actual quantum stuff that they wait for you to look away before they can move. Weeping angels were also said to be quantum, but again, that's not how quantum works. And one of the reasons you never see it this large is that they respond not just to conscious observation, but anything interacting with them. And, we have air around here, and so just the air bouncing off of the side of an object counts as enough of an interaction to lock it in place. You don't need somebody looking at it to lock it in. So the air itself should be, quote-unquote, observing it. And then even from a conscious perspective, it might not be obvious to us, but if we're really close and if something disappeared, that would create, well, if we were this close, that would create a sudden gap where there's absolutely nothing, the air would rush in to fill it, and we would feel a gust of wind. So if it were to disappear behind us, we should feel something, which would count as an observation, but that doesn't happen either. So anyways, it's a big departure from physics for gameplay reasons. That's fine. Yeah, okay, new exhibit. This is specifically the DLC content. The radio here on Timber Hearth was built to receive transmissions from our deep space satellite, and to this day still houses the first ever photos taken of the entire solar system. These photos were made possible by the deep space satellite's unusual vertical orbit that carries it high above and below the plane of the solar system. Thanks to a recent upgrade, the deep space satellite is now responsible for generating the real-time solar system map used by our newest astronauts. Okay, yeah, so for the DLC, this is hinting at us, go investigate that deep space satellite and the radio station on the planet. Well, maybe we'll get to that. Okay, have we seen everything? Yeah, this is where we came in. Wait. Yes, we haven't looked at this yet. Okay. This anglerfish specimen was found... Oh, great. So another corpse in a jar. Was found attached to the landing gear of one of our ships that flew close to dark bramble. It appears well suited to living in dark places with minimal atmosphere. Anglerfish. Actually, that might even... That's moving. I'm not sure if... It could be alive. I wonder if that is alive or not. Kind of tentacle-like things on its back. That is very weird. Okay, now I think that's it. Okay, so this is our solar system map. Okay, so now we can see again all the planets. So we have the hourglass twins closest to the sun. Timber Hearth where we are. Next out is Brittle Hollow with, looks like it has a red moon. Giant's Deep outside that, and Dark Bramble. And then this dotted line around is where the satellite comes from. Okay. Hey, Hornfells. There you are. I just finished brief flight observations, and local conditions are good. Time to get our newest astronaut off the ground. And you'll be our first astronaut ever equipped with a Nomai translator tool. I confess I've been giddy all day just thinking about it. We're better equipped than ever to unravel the mysteries of the Nomai. You and Hal should be proud of your work. Tell me, what's your plan once you're in space? Yeah, so this is another nice game design thing, is they don't want to direct you, so to make it clear that it's up to you, they ask you, well, what do you want to do? So, let's see. I think I'll start with something small. You prefer to use into things? That's a sensible plan. More sensible than most of our astronauts tend to be, and that's a fact. Do you think you'll go to the Owl Rock then? Yeah, well, that's an idea. Our moon would be a safe place to travel to and get your bearings in space, and I'm sure Esker would appreciate the visit. So I guess Esker's on the moon then. Plus, we don't know what the ancient Nomai ruins on the moon are, or why they were built. You could put your new translator tool through its paces. Well then, looks like all that's left is to send you off. All in all, it's a fine day for a launch. I'm ready to die in space. I'm not one for superstition, but isn't that kind of unlucky to say before a launch? Not if I hope I die. At any rate, here are the launch codes. Try not to worry too much. Our ships are every bit as safe as Slate could be persuaded to make them. I'm very encouraged. Best of luck out there. Let me know if I can help you with anything. Help. Hello again. Was this something you needed? Help. Tell me more about Spellfar. Spellfar was one of the 4 founding members of our Outer Wilds, along with our flight coach Gossin, Slate the engineer, and me. As ground control and the museum curator, I didn't work with Feldspar as closely as Slate and Gosson did. I can tell you Feldspar was absolutely fearless, though. Nothing scared them. Test piloted everything Slate ever built. It's a wonder Feldspar lived to see space, frankly, but they did. Flew all sorts of dangerous stunts and explored everything they could find. And then one day they just didn't come back. We don't know what happened or where Feldspar went, or even whether they're still alive. It's been a long time since they left. No, thanks, I'm good. Yeah, okay. What else is up here? This is odd. According to my redshift calculations, every single galaxy in this image is moving away from us. Yep, just like in real life. In fact, the further away a galaxy is, the faster it appears to be moving away. It's almost as if the entire universe is expanding. Yeah, it is almost as if that, isn't it? But if that's true, was everything closer together in the past? Yes. And how far back can we extrapolate? Did the universe have a beginning? Probably, or at least it was all closer at some point, and maybe before that it was farther away, but hard to really go further back than when everything was close together. Hornfell's observations. This is incredible. At first I thought the points of light in this image were stars, but they're not. They're galaxies. And this image covers just a tiny patch of the whole sky, which means the universe contains at least 1,000 times more galaxies than we previously imagined. I think I need to sit down. Yeah, space is big. No, okay, same thing. Okay, so here's the actual telescope. Can we look through? It's a bit high up, but yeah, no. Now, one thing that we didn't see in the observatory anywhere was something explaining the different planets in the solar system. I wonder if I accidentally skipped over it, or if we just meant to figure that out ourselves. So yeah. Let's just skim around again, see if there's anything I missed here. No, well, don't say anything about the planets. Okay, guess we'll just have to go there and find out ourselves. Yep. Oh, hello. So how's your day been? Yeah, I've bumped my head a lot. Finally, the brain damage is catching up with me, I guess. Thank you. You too. Wasn't there someone here before? Wonder where they went. Oh, let's go check with Hornfell, see if he has anything to say about this. Hornfell's? Where did you go? Oh, okay. No. You guys are open now. What kind of goldish eyes? Oh, there you are. Hey, so did you get a good look at that Nomai statue? The statue looked at me, open its eyes. Well, the statue was like, what? So its eyes opened, and then you saw images from your own memories and glowing lights floating around. Yes, I definitely said all of that, and you did not just read my mind there. I said, no offense, but are you sure you're okay to launch, like, medically speaking? I've only bumped my head 4 times today. You know what? Don't worry about it. No, that statue is definitely real. I mean, if you're saying it happened, then I guess maybe it did. But why? Hornfels tried everything to get the statue's eyes to open, and nothing like this ever happened to them. I don't think you're going to get any answers from the museum statue, but Gabbro said they were going back to Giant's Deep. Don't know which island they're on. Yeah, Gabbro was the one who brought this here, so maybe if anyone has some idea about it, it might be him. Maybe they'll be able to tell you more. On the other hand, Gabbro's, you know, Gabbro. So maybe you'd be better off searching for more info on your own. Jeez, now I'm really jealous you're going into space. Hey, see if you can use our translator tool to find out more about the statue, okay? No promises. Good luck and safe flying. Alright. Well, okay, I think we've seen everything around here. Back to the launch pad. We talked before. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, nothing too interesting. Just more about Feldspar. Okay, and we are back to the start. Oh, I can actually doze off now. Hey, sleep. Looks like you're ready for takeoff. The excitement of a launch is fun and all, but I can't wait to get back to working on the new ship. We're working on fixing the autopilot's avoidance system for this one. Sorry. So the autopilot doesn't have an avoidance system? So it won't avoid things? Yeah, okay. Let's rest in the marshmallow before we get started. Just one get. Nice, black and crispy, and definitely not on fire. Perfect. Good. Okay, doze off. Need to get a power nap. Okay, has it been 99999 days again? Okay, not this time, that's good. Alright. It is now probably time for me to call this a stream. My voice is starting to go on me. But let's at least blast off once. We've got to go into space at least a bit in this first episode, don't we? Okay. Just checking the ship. Okay, so we've got a crystal here for our artificial gravity. This probably fuel tank. Okay, here's a planetary chart. At least it gives us the names of them. Ship log. Okay. So a lot is. So timber. Let's see. Yeah, we've just gone all over that. Let's just. Okay, so it's keeping a log of what we've done. Okay, and here are these orange ones are kind of unfinished. So the outer rock. I hear there are nomai ruins somewhere in the outer rock. No one knows what they are or why they were built. Nomai text in the observatory talks about calibrating some sort of device on the outer rock. Okay, Esker's camp. Sounds like Esker is still stationed on the outer rock. They've been there by themselves for a while. Let's see. Okay, we've also got the Gabbro on Giant's Deep. And yeah, now. Okay. Ooh, and cooking supplies. Yes, we're going to be out there for a while. Miniature TV. Radio, maybe? Nah, I can't pick it up. Okay. Drinks, maybe. Cleaning supplies. Looks like a flask of whiskey or something. More cooking supplies, more whiskey. Like, it could be lubricant. Yeah, it's probably lube. Okay. Rope? Yeah, that's gonna be useful. Never know when you need some rope when you're out adventuring. A stick. Oh, yeah, we definitely need a stick. And... Jumbo. Oh, jumbo size, like maybe toilet paper? Or food or something. Yeah, that's food. I don't know. They do kind of look like toilet paper rolls, but no, there's no inner tube in them. Wait, is there a toilet here? Okay, I think we might need to install a toilet before we leave. This is going to get messy. Yeah, what's that? Okay, so that's our suit. Okay. Yep. Might not need the suit inside the ship, but if we go out, we definitely will. So, guide to little scouts. So we can shoot at sea beyond the horizons, illuminate dark areas, detect hazards, test the environment. And, yeah. Health and fuel full, so maybe that we restock there. There's a bench, just sit down. I am a bit distressed about the lack of a toilet, but maybe we'll just have to come home when we need one. Okay, buckle up. Okay, lift off landing camera. I don't know if we need that for lift off, so R2 hold to lift off. Going up. And make sure we are sufficiently far out. And let's just see if we can get into orbit and leave it there for today. There we go. What a view. You know, real life, they say that when astronauts get up into space and look down and see the entire world they are on, it has a profound effect on them, that all of humanity is there in front of me. And almost all of the Hearthians are there in front of us right now. There's a few out there exploring. Well, everyone, thank you very much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this stream, and I'll be back for more soon. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this. And now for today's extra credit question. The expansion of the universe actually allows one law of physics to be violated. Leave a comment with your guess as to which law this is, and I'll respond and let you know if you're correct or not. Thank you again for watching, and see you again.